So the reality now for Reform UK is going to really start hitting home. At the end of this week, mostly all of their local authorities they are now in control have been selected for cabinet positions, leaders have been put in place, and the real actual task, the massive amount, the gargantuan responsibility of local government now firmly rests upon their shoulders. However, there is a huge problem for this. First of all, Reform UK does not want to have any serious responsibility. They are a party of protest at best. What they really are is, of course, a vehicle for Nigel Farage so that he can absolutely grift off his current political position. It's UKIP just with a different shade of color. But all the individuals that were involved in UKIP are at Reform. So how is this any different from UKIP? But they are now in charge. And the realities in local government, where local governments are under huge amounts of pressure from adult social care, from budgets to slashed by over 14 years of conservative, austerity. They aren't going to cope. They just simply aren't. They are not up for the challenge, but they are now in control. As we said back then, before this election, if they take control anywhere, the light of scrutiny is going to shine down upon them. And always remember that Nigel Farage is now controlling all these people, all these different 10 local authorities from the Reform Office in London. How well is that going to work out for them? Not well at all. The other thing to bear in mind is, remember, these guys ran on a national platform that they were going to do stuff that the local councils have no responsibility over, no powers to enforce, absolutely nothing. That's why some have probably quite rightly this week, as we have seen continuously, like 2 to 3 stories a day of Reform councillors quitting and getting while the getting is good, because they're realizing, oh damn, this might not be for the best. Maybe if we weren't in charge, but if we are, I'm leaving. And now, of course, we come to the real meat and potatoes, because I'm going to go to a website now and show you just how bad this really is, that they are having to go and face this reality. And we're going to go to the local government Chronicle, which is, well, it's exactly what it's that. It is a site dedicated to talking about the news and what is going on in local authorities, the policies they are implementing, how well that is going. You name it, that is what they do. That is their bread and butter. And they asked these Reform councillors, so now you're in charge, what do you actually intend to do? And the answer, there came none. So before we do go on into this, please do remember to click on the like, the share button, and of course down below there's links to my Patreon page. One of today's link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below. So let's crack on into this, because oh boy. So from rhetoric to reality now from Reform UK. So the LCG reporter Andrew Voxel has now talked to Reform councillors across the country in 2 weeks following their stunning electoral victory. Here's what he found. 2 weeks ago, joyous celebrations were erupting amongst the Reform UK members as the party celebrated its most successful ever elections, with a surging performance, with one leading Reform councillor describing it as a tsunami. The others saw the party winning control over 10 different councils, 2 mayoralties, and 670 council seats, as well as the Runcorn and Helsby parliamentary by-election. But as its members and the memories of those celebrations from that night fade, the true realities are now kicking in. And the party must now begin to face up to the enormous challenges that local government now possesses. And for the party that has just been so rapidly thrust into positions of political power, these challenges are even greater. So, how will individuals who have had no real previous experience of politics cope, juggling their new responsibilities with their existing work and families? Again, very reasonable question to ask, quite frankly, because as I've said before, councillors do not get paid. And people always bring up this type of, oh my God, look at expenses they get access to. Yeah, expenses. They do not receive a wage. Just because they get so much in expenses does not mean it is a wage. You know, you can't claim everything on expenses. Do you think they're going to exist with their, current work and of their families? You're going to have a very understanding work if you're going to be out of the office multiple times a week attending council sessions. Like I say, I think we are going to get in a couple of maybe months' time that reality sinking in for a lot of them, and a lot of them are just going to say, "No, this isn't for me," and they're going to cut and run. We've already seen the ones, pulling the ejector seat now. How many in a couple of months' time are going to be doing exactly that as well? So, back to this. Who will, of course, be elected leader of the party with the local councils, and of course, they allocated the key cabinet and committee roles. And in areas where Reform is, of course, the largest party, but in not overall control, how will they continue to lead the council? Either as a minority administration or through cross party coalition and power sharing deals. The answers to some of these questions have already started to emerge. On Leicester County Council, where Reform is the largest party, but there are just 3 seats of an overall majority, members have voted Dan Harrison as their leader. Councillor Harrison, a former Conservative county council who defected Reform back in February, will lead the party's 25 new elected members. He said to the BBC, "We've achieved here is, of course, incredible from a standing start. We're now the largest party in the council, and the people of Leicestershire have given this council a mandate for serious change." But what serious change is that? Because they stood on a manifesto that was more about national issues than local ones. But Councillor Harrison already has his now work cut out, as any possible power sharing now has been ruled out by all leading opposition parties. Exactly. How's he going to get anything done? No one wants to work with them. So it's all on them. On the Worcestershire County Council, Reform won, of course, 27 seats, falling just short of the 29 needed now for an overall majority. But the Conservatives group deputy leader, Marcus Holt, has also ruled out any coalitions between the Tories and other parties. He said, "There are no plans for us to speak to Reform or indeed any other parties to form some sort of rainbow coalition. Reform has been clearly voted in as the largest party, so they'll now need to be left to run the council, and I, for one, will be very interested to see how they do this." And bear in mind, this is what seems to be a strategy from a lot of these councillors. They're like, well, they don't have enough for a majority. We're not going to work for you. We're not going to bail you out. We're just going to stand back and watch you fail, because these Reform people have been running around saying they'll be the best thing since sliced bread. We'll show them how to run things. Our ways is so much better, while not actually saying how that way is going to be better. And they know it. These other people who are experienced councillors absolutely know it. And they're just going to sit back and just watch how they disintegrate. with glee. You can already see that forming from that statement itself. So, like, of course, Councillor Harrison, some Reform councillors are, of course, old hands and county councillors. Leicestershire County Council leader Stephen Atkinson is, of course, the former Conservative leader of Rib Valley DC, while Lincolnshire's County Council's deputy leader Rob Gribson has previously sat in the County Council and South Holland DC as a Tory. Like I say, some of these people have come across from the Conservatives, so they're all by means not all inexperienced, but even some of these people didn't even have that experience to begin with. And we've seen the comments about some of these people saying, well, actually, they're not as good as they claim they are. You know, good luck. It seems to be the fact to it. You know, when it all goes a bit wrong, we'll be here to tell you, we told you so. So, back to this. However, many of the course the new Reform councillors that LGC has spoken to are, of course, extremely young and are now completely new to the challenges of political life. Joseph Baum has been now the newly elected leader of the Reform group on Leicestershire County Council. He is just in his early 20s, and he hinted now at the personal challenges which lie ahead. When asked for an interview by LCG, he replied, quote, I really appreciate the interest, but things are extremely busy at the moment as I settle into the new role, juggle council work, my own life and business with complete the initial rounds of training. I'll have to pass for now. Yeah. They have got no clue what they've wandered into. They've got no clue what they wandered into. And it's especially some of these young ones that are going to get the biggest kicking, the biggest wake-up call. I mean, just as we've just covered, the fact that you just put a 19-year-old in Leicester in charge of child services, and he's got no experience in any of that whatsoever. Anyway, this is, of course, the theme of Reform taking time now for plans to be put in place before now openly committing to the media is reflected elsewhere. A spokesperson for Reform and the Warwickshire Council referenced now a blanket ban on speaking to the media until plans have been finalised, and several approaches to the National Reform Press Office for comment have now been ignored. And why? That is because, as always, going all the way back to the UKIP days, Nigel Farage knew full well that if someone else from UKIP went on Question Time, they would blow it, and it would damage UKIP. That's why back in the UKIP days, you would think that UKIP was just a one-party, literally a one-man band, because it was all Nigel Farage all the time. Same for the Brexit Party. Reform, slightly different. Tice is getting a bit of an airing on Question Time as well as Nigel Farage, I think, to try and avoid that allegation that it's now a one-man band. But the fact that these Reform councillors are now being told there is a blanket ban on media until we've got all the plans have been finalized and the approaches and how you do this. Why? Because they're all being controlled from that central office in London. They're taking their orders from a central office in London. How on earth is that going to work for local politics? It's just simply not. Not at all. In Lancashire, our request, of course, to interview Councillor Atkinson also received the response, we'll be in touch when he's officially in place. When asked about, of course, reform plans in Worcestershire, Councillor Alan Atmos responded to LGC saying, we're having an election for a leader, and then we'll go from there. Kind of impressive that they all unanimously don't want to speak to the media, don't they? Because they know the scrutiny they're going to get. All those 10 councils, probably Nigel Farage's biggest problem, as well as those 2 regional mayoralships. Like I say, Andrew Jenkins, not going to keep her mouth shut. Luke Hall, probably a bit more pliable, but he's going to be running into his own problems probably pretty soon because he's got an entire local authority to set up, and he has no political experience in how to do that. Anyway, reading, of course, the media reports about the fallout from the comments of Reform members have now allegedly made could now throw even more light upon why these councillors, suddenly thrown into the media spotlight from obscurity, appear somewhat guarded. When controversial influencer Andrew Tate, who is wanted over allegations of human trafficking in Romanian government, was then banned from most social media platforms, the aforementioned Councillor Bronham reportedly, shall we say, posted that Andrew Tate has now been banned from Instagram and Facebook. Free speech is dead. The world is dead. And that is shocking that someone who is, again, appears to be a fan of Andrew Tate is now on councillor and has those views. That is worrying. And of course, it continues. During the last Men's Football World Cup, Councillor Brom allegedly wrote that, quote, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Iran are all out. The way things are going, England will be the only Muslim country left in the World Cup. Gee, how is he going to handle, you know, things like that go on in the council? Yeah, you can see why they are not wanting to speak to people, can't you? So, as well as course, with now getting to the grips with reality of taking power in local authorities across the UK, reform is now already facing other immediate challenges by causing now a string of recent resignations. Donna Edmonds, elected in Hodden, Shropshire, quit after being suspended by the party for writing on social media saying that she was planning to defect after local elections. Posted on Twitter, writing about being ousted by by the party's MP from Rupert Lowe, set now up to a challenger party, and then I will defect. In resigning, she launched a complete tirade against Nigel Farage, declaring that he must never be Prime Minister and is, of course, a terrible leader. Her suspension and, of course, decision to quit the party just days after the local election marks a chaotic start to Reform's life as as a local party of government. And her resignation has now been followed by others. Andrew Kilburn quit Durham after failing to declare that he worked for the local council. And the council has already said there is now a small number of councillors who will also now be unable to take up their seats because they're employed council employees. This suggests that they either did not know the rules or did not expect to be elected. I think they just did not know the rules, to be honest. Elsewhere, Desmond Clark resigned from Nottinghamshire County Council after days of being elected, citing, quote, significant changes to his personal circumstances. Yeah, significant changes probably meaning, it's probably not a good idea to be on this. Another Staffordshire County Councillor for Reform, Wayne Tilley, resigned for, quote, personal reasons after becoming embroiled in a political storm. Mr. Tilley allegedly posted on social media that the Navy should be used to use a volley of gunfire to put off illegal small boat crossings in the English Channel earlier this year. Gee, I wonder why he resigned. He was elected to Grosvenor and Ecclesall ward by just 27 votes after the public went to the votes polls on May the 1st, but the local authority later confirmed that a by-election will be held after Mr. Tully announced he was stepping down. So all that money is, again, to restand that by-election is going to be wasted. Good one, guys. So whilst the 1st of May 2025 will undoubtedly be, of course, a night to remember for the reform, the party is now just waking up to the true realities and challenges of local government and the scrutiny that comes from holding public office. Only time will tell how smooth the path from rhetoric to reality really is. I don't think it's going to go well at all. I do not think this is going to go well at all for them. It's going to go absolutely badly for them. And again, I'm just going to keep on reminding and bashing this nail and talking about it because not a lot of people bring this up. You know, even in that report right there, I really think it should be brought up. You know, why has Nigel Farage stated, as well as Richard Trice and other people in Reform, said that there is going to be a unit in their Reform HQ which is going to control all those councils, meaning that all those people elected for that position not really going to be in control. They're going to be taking their directions from people in an office down in London. Odd. That never gets mentioned, but yeah. The theme that I've seen from most people, especially from the outgoing councillors, is to wish these people luck. And I think it's the most backhanded, nice way they are putting it. They just go, okay, good luck. Because they have been probably attacked by these people who are now taking their positions. Who've been telling them, you're awful, you're terrible, the way you're running things is just not effective, you're wasting public money. And now they're like, well, okay, good luck. Oh, we are going to see some fun stuff happen in local politics in the next couple of years, and it's all going to be centered around these reform people. And it's just now a matter of time until the first big scandal emerges. You know, how long till a local authority or one of these local authorities that reform control go bankrupt? And then it all comes out why it all went bankrupt because of their crazy, um, policies that they implement. And like I say, good on, by the way, good on those conservatives that are in those councils where reform don't have enough councillors to take control, that they're going, we're not going to work with you. Good luck. You know, we're going to sit back and just watch. I bet they're enjoying the ride as well. Because after all, a couple of those reform people are ex-conservatives. What fun. What fun is that going to be for all those local councillors? And I've said this before. If you are a local councillor and you are sitting on one of these reform councillors, no, you are one of these sitting on these councils that is now being run by reform. I will gladly platform you. I will gladly bring you on here, and you can tell the public just what is going on. Because I would love for you to come on. I don't care if you're a conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, Green, etc. I will gladly give you this platform so you can come on here and tell everyone what these reform lunatics are doing. Because I guarantee you, there's going to be stuff that gets reported and a lot of other stuff that just completely goes under the radar. But you guys will probably know firsthand just exactly what is going on. And like I say, the the platform is here for you if you want it. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.